Welcome back to the Cosmic Mistress podcast. My name's Amanda, and today we have a special guest named Talyn, who is a Reiki Master. She is also a creator of high-vibrational jewelry. Recently just found out she lives in Nashville. And so, Talyn, I'd love for you to introduce yourself as far as who you are, what gifts you're currently offering the world, and then we can get into a little bit more as far as what that looks like and how you came into this field and your gifts.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me, Amanda.
Yeah.
I feel like I went through so many modalities on my spiritual journey that I love. And then the thing that really grounded me the most was Reiki.
Mm.
With my clients that I work with, I always say that Reiki is kind of the baseline, but then I'm bringing in breath work, light language, inner child work, visualization. But Reiki is really the thing that has become almost this crystalline web that connects everything I do together. And so I love working with people one on one, but really where my heart is right now is training people in Reiki because my mentor always said if everyone was Reiki level 1 certified, the world would change overnight because it's all about, as you know, as a Reiki master too, it's all about unconditional love to the self.
Yeah.
And so I think that just having a way to connect easily with that love is something that has transformed my life. And so that's something I really love to do. And then I work with a jewelry line called Kate King. So I don't create it, but
Cool.
yeah, the founder of it reached out to me oh my gosh, was it 2 years ago now when I was living in England and it was dark. I'm a Leo, I'm from Vegas. So it was like dark and cold and dreary. And I was just like, she reached out to do a content collaboration and I had a cognac sapphire that's really going to be the sun and Jupiter. And it just kind of returned my light back on amidst the English countryside. Like nothing else changed besides wearing that cognac sapphire. And it just changed my life. So I became an advocate, but really a customer for a long time. And became really good friends with Kate, the creator of the line. And she kept saying, you're a gem keeper. And I was like traveling the world. I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then when I finally landed in Nashville and had a bit more grounding, I said, it would be really nice to bring this in with my clients and have something where I'm not always the product. I had a really intense injury right when I moved to Nashville. And so when you have an injury, you realize your bandwidth is different. And so it kind of was one of those things where the gems came in before the injury. So it was like the solution came in before the problem. So it was really aligned and beautiful.
I love that. I think that happens often, right? Where something comes into our field or our awareness or like a material object, for example, and we like kind of place meaning on it, right? Because that's what we do as humans. And then further down the line, we're like, oh, fuck, this is what it's actually for. What a gift.
Totally. Yeah, and it was so funny because she was kind of chipping away at me and I was like, no, no, no. And then it became this massive blessing for me last year where I was just like, wow, I'm so glad that you continued to hold the vision for me, even though I was so reluctant. So I think that's the beautiful thing about having mentors and just other people in your life that see possibilities for you and hold that for you even when you're not ready to step up to it yet.
Yeah, and the power of mentorship and having support because we can't always see the full picture for ourselves, right? And this can go into Reiki as well, or like any of the modalities that you mentioned. It's a really beautiful experience to be supported in that way with somebody that sees more of you than maybe where you're currently at, or sees your potential, or a higher version of you, or maybe even like a wounded version of you and can be with you in that. I think that's really, really cool. What have you seen, if you have any other shares around the high vibrational jewelry, since we're here now,
Yeah.
what other stories do you have connected to the jewelry and what this has brought for other people?
Yeah, it's been so fun because I have 14 pieces. So it becomes almost like a toolkit. Just like you can't build a house with a hammer, I have a specific one for every frequency I need. And so I can change them throughout the day. Like, am I on a sales call? Do I need to attract money? Do I need confidence? Am I having a hard day and I just need an emotional hug, right? And so it's really cool because I could experience the difference, but then seeing my clients use them, clients I'd been working with for months, then the jewels came in and I was like, I really think that all the heart work we're doing, a green tourmaline would really help us amplify it. And then seeing how quickly their progress was once the gems started coming in, I could feel the difference of their field immediately when I started working with them. And it almost becomes like a concierge because someone will reach out to me and say, hey, I'm going through a grief portal. Do you have anything for grief? And I'll send it to them. Or, hey, I need some more money. Do you have anything? So it's this really cool thing. It's so fine tuned, like it's so precise. And I love that because as someone on the spirit, it's incredible and it's also awful. It's all the things, right? And so I love having something where you can just wake up and it does the work for you. Like I tell my clients, like this is a tool. This is a spiritual tool. We have a high priest in Bali that awakens the souls of each stone. So it really is this spiritual piece. And it was funny, I had a client earlier today who asked me, she goes, do you ever feel like if you haven't worn a specific piece for a while, you can almost feel like it gets like finicky? I was like,
It's like jealous of like the
yeah,
other pieces.
totally. That cognac sapphire that I was just talking about, I went in my little thing the other day and I almost felt it being like, like it just used to be me and you for like a year, and now you have all these new friends. And I was like, okay, like,
That's
oh,
so
which
funny.
one?
That's so
Uh,
funny.
so they really have souls. Like I have tons of them. Like it's
Oh,
just,
they're so pretty. I'm excited to check out more of those. Do you find that reaping the benefits of these tools and really like the full spectrum experience of what they have to offer, does that require a certain level of openness? And for people that have more openness maybe to the possibility with these tools, are the benefits greater? Like what's been your experience with that?
yeah, that's a great question. I would say that almost like Reiki, I feel like Reiki's the type of thing where even if you sit there and you're in your head the whole time, I always tell my clients you're receiving the benefits. Like, I don't need you to technically believe in order for the Reiki to work. You don't have to have some transcendental experience, even though a lot of people do, for it to do the work. And so it's interesting with the gems because I find that it's very similar because I'll have clients that are so open. Like, I've had it help people with addiction, with weight loss, with bringing in money, bringing in grief is a really tender one that a lot of people are going through right now. Confidence, like everything. But I've also had a lot of my clients gift them for people who aren't as open and they work just as well. They just don't know what's happening, right? Like they'll just get this like gem and they're like, cool. And then all of a sudden they'll text their friend of like, what did you give me? Because I'm just happy all the time or I'm bubbly or whatever the thing is that it's meant for. So I find that, I mean, I'm a believer that belief enhances everything, of course.
Right.
I do find like I've gifted pieces to family members and to friends that aren't even close to as woo as me, and I see it really change. So I feel like it's the DNA of the gem is so beyond us that it's like they're taking this medicine and they don't even know. Like if you were slipping like a supplement of vitamin D to someone, they'd be like, "Wow, I have a lot of energy," you know?
Yeah, totally.
Kinda
I
like,
love that too. And with Reiki, like the energy flows and goes to where it's needed and necessary. And like while the intention is there and it's held and openness is beautiful, it's not always 100% necessary with that belief for you to get the benefits. And I know for me too, like I spent a long time like on this path and with manifestation, law of attraction, that's all like think it, believe it, call it in. And sometimes that can be a little like fear or pressure. It's like, oh, I'm having a negative thought, or oh, I'm not in like the perfect space, so it's not going to happen. And I love what you're saying where it's like that's not necessarily true. Yeah.
yeah, I think that the frequency, I feel like the farther I go down this path, it's really the frequency. So
Mm,
it's like you can have a thought that doesn't feel great, but as long as you don't let it just like pummel you into a place where you've lost all control and sovereignty,
yeah.
it's like really being with it, honor it, and then saying, wow, like I see you. I'm really into Kabbalah right now. And I
Love
love
that.
yeah, I love this practice that David Guillaume does where anything that happens that is uncomfortable, you just pause and say, what a gift. And you
Mm,
literally just say it over and over until you get to complete neutrality. Because it's
yeah.
not that you don't, cry or set the boundary or whatever it is, but it's about getting to a place of just saying, even though this is so crunchy right now, I believe that everything happens for me. So I believe it's a gift because, as we know, you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it, right? So it's like the
Totally.
second you're looking at it as a gift, the outcome of showing you how it's a gift is going to come in sooner. So I feel like that's now how I feel. Like I don't override negative things or try to have toxic positivity. Like I'll feel the emotion, but then quickly I'll just be like, pause, what a gift, and try to get it in its tracks instead of waiting for hindsight to see the gift.
I love that. I really love the concept of neutrality, and I want to share something, and then I'd love to get into as far as like how you got into Reiki and like that period of your life and what brought you into that. But I remember going into some of my certifications, and like when the self-love movement was like blowing up, and it's like we're all gearing towards like loving ourselves. And for a lot of people, the beginning of that journey is really hard because we don't know what that means. We don't know what it is. And so I tell people that I work with oftentimes, like when they're moving through something uncomfortable, instead of trying so hard to love it, what if we just work towards getting neutral with it? What if we can just take that charge away? And then I think once we get there, instead of trying to like love it so hard and force ourselves into this place that's not very accessible or authentic yet, let's get neutral with it first. And then I think it can open you up to the possibility of maybe I can start to open to the gift of this even being good for me. And then maybe I can love it at some point.
Yeah, I think neutrality is so potent and it's so uncomfortable. I'm a self-diagnosed extremist. So it's like
I love that.
I'm like either running like passionate or I'm just like, "Arr." And so I'm getting to a point the older I get where I'm like, this is neutral. Like there's just nothing here. But
Yeah.
you realize the neutrality is also the quantum. It's like when you can get to neutral, that's that void space where anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I also feel like clarity often comes in neutrality because you don't really
Yeah.
feel attached negatively or positively to the situation.
Yeah, that like spaciousness of almost like nothingness, neutrality and nothingness.
Yeah,
So
and it's so
take
uncomfortable for us because like we're so used to
totally.
the situation. We're
It's
like,
uncomfortable, and also like as a 7 on the Enneagram, like it's kind of fucking boring sometimes.
totally.
Like,
How would you
oh,
spur the
this isn't
plot?
fun. Why would I do this? This is not fun. Like, let me find
Yeah.
something that's fun.
I know one of my friends one time, he was like, I felt like he was kind of like one of my gurus, and he was like, that's actually what the goal is what you're feeling. And I was like, this is weak. Like, this
Sounds
is not
lame.
my goal.
Who would want to do this?
I know he's like literally like Buddha. And I was like, okay, well, I came for, iced lattes and like passionate sex and like,
Yeah, yeah. Some like fun music, laughs,
yeah,
jokes.
exactly.
So take us to the point in your life where you decided to start studying Reiki. Like, what was going on for you? What drew you to that? And just take us on a little bit of a journey into that.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I really feel like a calling is called that because you're called. I my whole life wanted to be an actress, so being a healer was
Leo.
so yeah, like exactly. Being an actress, or excuse me, a healer was so not on my radar at all. I
Mm.
really went into my spiritual awakening because of a really devastating breakup. And I just actually wrote a book about it and I'm releasing it one chapter at a time on YouTube. So it's kind of
Yay.
like the relationship that led to my spiritual awakening. But it's really raw because I feel like so many people know me now in this more healed, elevated state. And I want to kind of show people how insecure, how messed up, like how I used to be, because I think that showing the behind the scenes is so important because someone sees you now with your success and all these things and they're like, wow, it's easy for you. And so I'm really excited about that. And so it's kind of explaining how I got there. But I started with breathwork. That was kind of my entry point. And then I just went as the extremism. I just went hard on like all the plant medicines, all the retreats, all the things. And it was during COVID. I was living in Laguna Beach at the time, and I had a friend that did Reiki. So every time we'd hang out, she would do a little bit of Reiki on me. And it kind of got to the point where every time I saw her, I was like, can you do some Reiki on me? Can you do some Reiki on me? And so she finally said, why don't you go down the street in Huntington and like just get certified and just do level 1 just to work on yourself? And I was like, oh, cool. So I did it probably like a little bit after COVID, like right when things started opening up again. And it's so interesting because I still never planned to be a healer. If anything, healing and spirituality was kind of like I was like having an affair with it. Like not a lot of people knew. I had kind of like this whole other persona. I was pursuing acting. I had some books coming out and stuff, and spirituality was just kind of like this thing just for me.
Mm.
And because I already felt like I was trying to monetize my creativity, I really didn't want to monetize my spirituality. I was like, I have to have something just for me, right? That has no strings. And then there were these Reiki share nights where I got attuned, and you would just basically receive and give for free. And I remember I was working on this young girl and I kept hearing, they're not going to get divorced. They're not going to get divorced. And I had never experienced something that clear before. And I remember feeling really uncomfortable, but finally told her after. And she broke down into tears and she said, you know, my parents just told me they're separating, like right before here. And I just sat there and I was like, I mean, I'm not a fortune teller, but I have a very strong inclination that they will not be divorced, that this is temporary. Yeah. And I remember driving home that night and thinking, maybe this gift isn't just for me, because she was just so happy. And it was kind of the first time that I almost got like scared, because I was like, oh my gosh, is this about to be a whole thing? Everything with me is a thing. Like I don't do anything a little bit. Like I go so hard. And so I just remember driving home and being like, God, was that a sign? Like, oh no. What's about to happen?
It felt scary. Did it feel scary that, you know, like changing paths, or like the power of that moment and like the power of what could be with those gifts?
Yeah, kind of twofold. Exactly that. Like it was so different from the life I saw for myself for so long. I almost just, it kind of felt like whiplash, and it almost kind of felt like I had a vision of this whole path that I'm on now. And it felt so like scary in the sense of like, I was like, I can't go over there. Like I've been working for this my whole life. Yeah. And I can't imagine just sick. Cause I also could see at the time they didn't mix it all. Like it just felt so, you're going to have to leave this and do that. And I felt like I so wasn't ready, but it also felt so expansive in the way to have that confirmation and to be able to help her was so heartwarming. And it's so different than acting, right? Like it's a very different interaction to feel like you're helping someone. So even still, I kind of put it aside. I went back to LA to act again, and everything with the restrictions with COVID and stuff, like it was just a crazy time to be an actor. They were constantly testing and it was just like really intense. And so I was like, I'm going to wait till things cool off a little bit. And I actually thought like, what can I do to make money in the meantime? And I happened to have an extra room in LA, which like doesn't happen. And like, you know, so I was like, the girl I was renting from, I was like, can I like clean this room out and make a little Reiki studio? And so I did, and I put, you know, like a little, I didn't have any followers at this time. I just had like my friends. I put a little like website together for free and put up some photos, and it just like took off in LA. And so I was like producing commercials, doing set design on one side, and then doing in-person Reiki on the other side. And it was that whiplash of like being on set for 14 hours, being so stressed out and like go, and then deeply connecting with spirit and helping someone and feeling the nourishment, but still feeling like I couldn't give the other one up. And so it was so interesting because I get really loud signs because I think that's just like my kind of like my language. And so even still, I had done Reiki level 2 because you have to do like 2 to work with people. And I still was like, Reiki Master was coming up. My teacher does it, I think only once or twice a year. And I remember seeing it on my calendar and like actively deleting it and being like, I'm not going to do more Reiki. And I remember being like, guides, I'm going to be an actor. Like, stop trying to push this spiritual stuff on me. Like, it's not happening. This is just temporary. And I went on a bachelorette party, and like, I don't drink. I used to be like wild in my 20s, and I really didn't want to go. I got peer pressured into going. It cost like way too much money. It was just like one of those things that was so not aligned, and I should have not gone, but also it was so perfect. Because when I got back from this weekend, I was like, it was like $1,000 weekend or something insane. And like, I didn't have that. Yeah, I did not have that money at the time. So it was like, my account was empty. My serotonin was gone. I was so depressed. And I remember just sitting there and being like, what am I doing with my life? I can't remember if it was an RRT or RTT. I've done both. There's 2 different types of like hypnosis therapies, but I did one of them, and she put me into a deep trance and had me talking to my inner child, and she's like, tell your inner child something that she would love to hear. And consciously I would have said something like, I shot a pilot and like pitched it to Netflix and HBO, like things that's like what I think is cool. But what I said in trance was, I heal people with my hands. And the little girl was like, I knew we were magic. I always knew it. I knew it. And so I just like had that moment, and she looked at me and she's like, can you put your hands on me and heal me? And my heart just like broke, and I came out of that trance and I was like, what am I doing? Like the ability, like what we do as healers is so insane. Like if you actually just like, you know, kind of look at it, it's like you're standing there with your hands on someone and like you're making them feel better, right? Mm-hmm. And I immediately signed up for the master, and it completely changed my life. I always say that after you do the master frequency, get ready, because I think within a month I had left acting behind, moved to Sedona, Arizona, like fully let it all go. And
Totally.
so it was just such a reckoning to get me on the path. Like I was so resistant. But then
Hmm.
after that weekend and that session, the master just like came into my life in the most just delicious, amplified, illuminated way. And then my whole life changed.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Well, they say too, like after each attunement, and I experienced this as well with moving through all those levels. There's like a purging that happens once you move through those to create more alignment for where you're at and where you're going. And also you feel really confident moving through that with the attunement that you receive, for
Yeah,
sure.
like some people physically get sick like
Yeah.
after, depending kind of where they are. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Because I teach Reiki now, and someone's like, I'm gonna do the master. I'm like, okay, sit with it. Because I'm like, I haven't met anyone that hasn't completely changed their life, which is what we always want. But the literal side of that can be very disassociating.
Destabilizing.
So because I don't feel like anyone warned me. And I like my whole life, it was like I was here and then I got picked up by a tornado and was like put over here,
Yeah.
which was great. But I always kind of really like to let my people know, like, make sure you're called. Don't feel like, oh, I'm just doing another level to check the box. Like,
Right.
really make sure you're called to the last level.
I love that. So what has continued to support you throughout the journey? Have you had moments where you're questioning that path even after you've chose it? And if so, like what's been really supportive for you in those moments?
Yeah, it's such a great question because I kind of am laughing because I had this conversation with my friend yesterday. I still now am constantly running away from Reiki. It is like this, it's almost like this game of hide and seek where it is the one thing for me that every time I put any attention on it, it just grows like wildfire. But then I feel like sometimes I just love novelty. And I
Mm,
also, to my core, consider myself a creative more than a spiritual healer. Like just to
yeah.
my soul. So I feel like I'm always reaching for art, but I find that Reiki is the one thing that's always there for me. It's like I'll
Mm,
do trainings and it will blow up and be amazing. And then I'll just kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna go like do this book over here. And then like it won't work. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'll come back to Reiki and it'll just like blow up. And I'm like, it's so, with my videos, same thing. It's like I was known for Reiki and I've done all these other things, but the second I talk about Reiki, it's just what resonates most for me with
yeah.
my audience and people. And so it's almost like this best friend that I feel like sometimes I wonder if I take it for granted, but then it always is there for
Yeah.
me. And so just recently, actually, I've been putting a lot more energy into it because I'm just like, this is this constant. It's almost like that best friend that you end up marrying, where I'm like, I feel like this best friend is just always there, so consistent, so nourishing to me. But
Yeah.
I just had to go taste everything else, you know?
Totally.
And I find support wise, the Reiki itself is the support because it's always so anchored. And it truly is the thing that I feel like even when I'm not giving energy to it, like people just ask me to do Reiki sessions out of nowhere and buy things. Like I don't put a lot of energy into marketing it, but it is
Yeah.
something that just always comes back. But I find with me too, like travel is something that just gives me so much life.
That makes
Whenever
sense. The novelty of travel. Yeah.
I'm like,
Makes
yeah,
a
if
lot
I
of
can
sense.
get that high kind of almost somewhere else. But I also feel like it's easier for me to hear spirit, hear God when I'm somewhere with no attachments.
Mm,
Like when I'm traveling, it's like I'm led to the right place. I'm like carried the spy looking for signs, and I'm so led. Where I find after I haven't been somewhere stationary this long for a while. And I
mm.
find it so easy to get used to your routines and all these things. And I was like, I need to live here as if I'm visiting and wake up every
I
day and
love
say, Spirit,
that.
where should I go? Who should I meet? You know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love that. It sounds like too, like I think novelty and like newness and even travel in general for people can feel a little bit destabilizing or ungrounding. But it sounds like for you, it's actually very stabilizing. And especially for the relationship you have with Reiki, it's almost like having those novel experiences almost nourishes the relationship that you have with Reiki as well. And also, I love the idea too. Have you read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I love I love what he speaks to as far as, create just to create, but also which you're very aligned with your purpose and it's very nourishing for you. And you also get to do all these creative things that aren't necessarily what you're like specifically monetized or what your like specific mission is, but you're still making the space for those and they also nourish your mission, which I think is really important for people to have all of those things, because maybe if you weren't having your creative projects, like the way that you would show up in the Reiki space wouldn't be as nourishing for yourself or for other people. So I think it's
Yeah.
really important for people to reflect on not only like what nourishes me, what do I need, and then I have my career, but how is what you need also going to nourish and influence your ability to show up more strongly in your mission?
Yeah, I completely agree because I feel like for so much of my life I oscillated like creative, no spiritual, creative, and I was like, oh no, both. Like you can't,
Yeah,
it's like two organs where you need them both. And I
totally.
feel like with YouTube, that's honestly why I'm giving my book away for free because I feel like the first two books that I published, there was just so many attachments because of what it could be and numbers and all these things. And it took me about a decade to complete this story. And this is the same pilot that I pitched to Netflix and stuff that didn't get made. And I was like, I just feel like I'm ready for this story to be out of my body. I feel like the 18-year-old in me wants this story to be told so much, but I
Mm,
just want to give it away and I just want to like experience it and let it be out there without any pressure. And it's
yeah.
made the telling experience so much more fun because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, go check it out. And there's not like, go buy my book. You know what I mean? It just feels like it's so easy.
Yeah, and what a gift, like for you to be able to share that expression and that part of yourself. And people can feel that too. I always say too, like the energy that something is created from, like whatever it's rooted in, that's what people receive when they're like ingesting it and taking it in. So when we're doing it from like obligation or like I need to make money, like people feel that energy versus like this is just a gift. I'm just doing this to express myself. Here is me, and then people are like, "Oh, I can see her. I can feel her." What do you think that will create? Has that come out yet? These YouTube pieces of your book, have any of those come out yet?
Yeah, so I started maybe like a month or so ago. I'm dropping 2 chapters a week, but I'm
Okay.
kind of in a phase now where the chapters are so short that it's going to take like 6 months. And so I'm also kind of toying around with the idea of maybe doing like several chapters at a time because I feel, we'll see. It's so nice too when you're trying because there's no, like it's so fluid, right? I can just
Right.
decide, maybe I'll just read the whole book tomorrow. Like who knows?
Right? Yeah.
But I will say like I'm performing it, like, well, not performing it like acting, but I have, like a set I set up and I'm reading it and it's really satiating that actor part of me
I
that I
love that.
haven't played with her in so long that it's almost so perfect because it's when I was 18 and wanted to be an actress. And it's like all these worlds are kind of colliding. And so every time I do it, I feel like I'm just doing it for her. Like, I'm like, how would she want this to be done? Of course she'd want a camera on. Like, of course,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
what is all of that creating for her, for your 18-year-old? What is sharing in that way?
Feel like it's creating pride in who she was at that time instead of embarrassment.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just so like so many 18-year girls like in college and there's so much going on and I lost my father so young that it really disjointed the whole college experience. I was 2 months into college when he passed away and so
Wow.
my whole experience was just like turned on its head and I feel like I was so embarrassed at the time for being emotional or drinking too much or just all these things and I feel like sharing this piece is giving her a stage to say how she felt behind all that because she wouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
She would just like be like perfect all the time and then drink too much and like just throw a fit or whatever it was. And so I feel like giving her inner dialogue a place to breathe and being witty and like just showing all these things like it's such an expose of all my secrets. Like that I used to exaggerate all the time, like all these things that I used to hope no one ever finds out this about me. Where now I'm just like so obsessed with my inner child and every piece of me that I've healed that I'm like, I want to show you all of the darkness and all the things I used to be embarrassed about because I feel like there's so many young girls or older girls that will just be like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one that did that and thought it was so embarrassing.
Yeah, totally. What do you attribute like creating enough safety to share, like to expose these parts of yourself to now? Like what has supported you in that? And also, I want to highlight the fact that you sharing this is also going to support other people feeling safe enough to expose the parts of them that they're maybe shy or have shame or guilt around other people seeing in them or experiencing. But what created that safety for you? Like, why now?
I think it's a lot of practice doing the content. It also was something I really resisted at the beginning. It was not something I wanted to do, but when my show didn't get picked up, many people were like, if you had an audience, your show would have gotten made. So it was something that I really didn't want to do and I realized I was showing my authentic self on TikTok, but not on Instagram. So TikTok got big, but not Instagram because it was all my friends. So I was trying to make it like a little more buttoned up, not as like
Yeah.
mention symptoms, like stuff like that. And it wasn't until I started being really authentic on Instagram that it also got big. So that was a huge lesson for me of like, you can't fake it and people can feel the difference and people resonate more with the truth than like someone that they feel like has it all together. And
Right.
I feel like just after years of posting and say like all the videos of mine that go viral or like the one where I'm sick in bed or the one that I did on the fly, it's never the one where it's the lighting is perfect and it's all figured out. So I feel like that taught me so much that people want to relate to what's real.
Yeah.
And I also just love literature and movies and feeling deeply. And I kind of was looking at all of the things that really touched me in my adolescence and early 20s. And like, it's the things that are messy.
Mm.
Honestly, like most, it's so funny because when I started writing this book, I didn't really think I'd publish it. Like, so I think there's like an essence of I really went deep because I was like,
Yeah, there's less pressure.
yeah, I was like, I think I just need to write. I wrote the show for public consumption, but that was like 9 years ago, and it was such a different show because I was so much less mature and less healed back then. So I'm so glad it didn't get picked up because it would have been such like a glimmer of the truth.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was in Ashland a few years ago and I was writing a sci-fi book, but I had to pause it because my coach went out of town and I was kind of just like sitting with all these things. And this is like Summer I Turned Pretty. It was like season 2. Everyone was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it about these shows that like even me as a healed person, like I love it. And there was this 60-year-old like at the cafe and she was obsessed with it. And I was like, what is going on with like us as like a society? And it made me realize that like I had lived that type of story, but the ending was so different. And I was like, what if I could write the same type of story with the yearning and the toxicity and the sex and all these things, but showing a different kind of ending of like what you really should get out of that to not repeat it
Yeah.
instead of like in all these stories they end up with the person or you know it's just so ridiculous like in all of these things. And so it was funny because at first when I was writing it, when I thought I was going to write it for public, I was actually going to have her like end up with the toxic guy because I was like that's what works. And then as I was writing it, my guides were like, you better not. Like don't do what's going to be marketable.
Yeah.
Tell it's true because it's based on me, but I changed everyone's names to give it some breath. I didn't want it to be a memoir. I wasn't trying to make it like a hit piece, you know? But I really was like, I would love to write something that is just as like titillating and addictive as one of those type of books like Twilight or 50 Shades, but has a very different ending that is like empowering the girl. And
Yeah.
so I also feel like there's so many girls that have been in a relationship where they were like embarrassed that they couldn't get out of it or like they got treated poorly and like there's always a reason. And
Mhm.
so I really wanted to shine a light on like what is the reason that a smart, intelligent, beautiful girl will get in a position that is really bad for her or scary for her or like rips her to shreds. And so I felt like I wanted to do that in a way where like if you listen to the book so far, you have no idea any of that's coming. You're like, wow, this is like a light, you know, like college rom-com is kind of
Right.
but like that's my goal is like, you know, I remember in acting it was like the best way to teach someone a lesson is with a laugh. It's to like
Mm.
make it funny so that it's approachable instead of being like learn this thing. And so I really feel like when I started actually pouring myself into it, I kind of got to a place where I was like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for the 18-year-old. Like, we'll never share it. There's still chapters where like I don't know if I'm gonna read them because they are so touching a core of things that I've never shared to anyone that I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
have to kind of sit with myself. And that's why I didn't want to publish it because it's like this alive thing where like I love that
Right.
I have the freedom to back out of those really scary parts if I
Totally.
want to.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. If you're comfortable sharing, what do you feel are some of the reasons people stay or people have a hard time leaving? And as I'm saying this too, I resonate with all of this. I am not inexperienced in toxic relationship. It takes two to tango as well. But what do you attribute some of that to when women have a hard time leaving, even when it's not good for them?
Yeah, I think that with so many things, it's usually the love that you're used to. Usually stemming from the father, whether it's not enough love, whether there's abuse, whether there's distance, whether there's abandonment, a death, approving of oneself. Like I know it's kind of this taboo thing of, like when a girl's crazy, it's like, oh, she has daddy issues. But I think it is a philosophical reasoning that like the first man in your life, how that love connection was, really attributes things to you moving forward. And I think that it's so easy to look at someone in a bad relationship and kind of be like, oh, they're weak, they can't leave. And the reason I feel so strongly about this is because I've been on both sides. I had a very interesting relationship with my dad my whole like until he passed. And it was interesting because even though we weren't close, he really put like value in me of like be treated well. So I really was treated like a princess, like in every relationship until he died. And then I got in a relationship where I was just like treated awfully. So it was
Wow.
so bizarre to live both, right? Most people will just be in toxic because they don't know love and it's something they don't even know what the greener pasture. It was so weird to be on the other end of like, what am I doing? Like, but I feel like he was no longer there to advocate for me. And it's interesting because such a huge part of my realization was I remember when when my dad passed, I was in college, so like I just stuffed it down. And then I was in this relationship for 4 years, on and off, cheating, like all the things. And I remember when we broke up, like it destroyed me. And I went to a therapist at the time and just said, why is this, I hate to say it, but like worse than my dad dying? Like this feels worse. And she just looked at me and she was like, this is your dad dying. Like you haven't dealt with it
Ooh.
at all. I remember she had me write a list of all the ways my dad made me feel. And it was like when I'm in the room, he loves me, but like when I'm out of the room, he forgets about me. Like I feel like I'm not good enough, or I feel like he's obsessed with me. And she's like, okay, now write a list of your ex-partner. And the list was like identical.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and I was like reeling, and I was probably in my early 20s. And she just said, you are trying to get your dad to love you through this partner.
Mm.
Dating someone who has the same energetic imprint as your father. And she was like, before your partners were all of the good characteristics of him because the wound wasn't as deep because he was still there. So you still had hope that you would heal, and he made these big promises. But she was like, the second he was gone, your subconscious is just freaking out and is like, how will I ever convince my dad that I'm good enough and that like he loves me? And so I remember her just like looking at me and saying, now it's your choice. You can do this for the rest of your life with a dozen different men with different faces that are going to do the same thing to you. Or you can heal this and never do this again.
Mm.
And
Wow.
yeah, I just sat there and I was
You
like,
had a good therapist. They're not all that great, but that one's great. I love therapy. It sounds like you had a really good one.
yeah. And I swear to you, I think I only went to her like twice. It was like this
Wow.
big thing. And then I moved away, and it was just like I reached more for spirituality to heal me. But that was the moment where I was like, I just thought all these 4 years I was weak and I was pathetic and there was something wrong with me. And people told me to leave and I felt so dumb. And when she said that, it was like, it gave me this freedom to say, like, this isn't my fault. Something happened to me that is tragic. And my soul is just trying to figure it out. And I was one of the people previously to that relationship that would see someone in something bad and I would think they were weak. I'd be like, oh my God, like, how can anyone let themselves be treated like that? That was me. And
Right.
then karma, kind of whooped me in the butt and then gave me so much empathy. And so I just think it's really important to really see anyone in that. Of like, there's always a reason, always,
Yeah.
whether it's mother or father or sibling, there's always a pain point that they are reliving that
Right.
feels more comfortable because they're used to it. And so I just feel like it's such a tender way to learn that lesson. But really, it is true. Like every partner I've had since has been amazing.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but never that again. Like, but really, you have to do the deep work to just say, like, I'm not going to do that again and
For
heal
sure.
the original wound.
Yeah, well, and it's because you changed too, right? Your beliefs around yourself and also that abandonment wound, which was re-triggered with your father passing. And, it sounds like I had a similar experience where, ending relationship and spending time with myself and going through that initiatory phase of, providing myself with the individuation of I'm no longer the child that has had these experiences with my parents. Like, this is playing out because of the experiences I had, and now I have a choice. Do I want to continue being this younger version of me, or do I want to mature and evolve into an actual woman that is sovereign on her own, that gets to invite in partnership that is more aligned, that is of high value, that is actual one of love that I want to experience rather than the love that I've experienced in the past. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. That's so good.
Yeah. I know, like, talk about some shadow work. I'm like, I was talking to your partner and he was just
Yeah.
like, wow, way to just like do your shadow work in front of the world. I was like, that's kind of my
No,
style.
it's admirable. Yeah, yeah, and he goes hard too. So here we are. So with Reiki, when people are coming to you, do you have like the same flavor of like themes that people are wanting to heal? Is it all across the board? I know you likely work with a bunch of different themes, or yeah, what do you see playing out pretty frequently?
Yeah, I would say it's all across the board. I would say it's a lot of addiction, a lot of depression, sleep issues. I would say intimacy issues.
Yeah.
Depression's a big one. I've suffered from a lot of depression, so I find that a lot of the times it's the wounds that you've healed that a lot of people will find you for. So I feel like I have people in bad relationships and depression quite significantly. I've
Yeah.
had a few people with like end of life ideation, but then I've also had other people I feel like more since I've healed that have come to me specifically to help them manifest or
Mhm.
strengthen their intuition, where it feels like I have some clients where it feels more of like a clearing and a healing, but then I have other ones where it feels more of like a coaching, where like I'm giving them tangible tools every week and they're just increasing their vibration and becoming more and more in alignment and connected. But
Yeah.
I really feel, yeah, like depression and also a lot with the voice,
Yeah.
lot with people afraid of confrontation, afraid to speak their truth, afraid to lose a partner. So like I feel like most star children, like the voice is such a big one. And so I feel like that's I can't remember the last time I worked on someone who like their throat chakra wasn't blocked. Like I feel like that's also something that I mean, which is funny because I love to perform and things like that. But I used to be such a what came out was a performance. It wasn't truth.
Totally. Yeah. And performing versus like sharing your truth during a high stakes conversation are two totally different things. I love that. Yeah. And I think we're coming into like this age, just based on astrology and where we're at spiritually, where people are ready for this to be open. People are ready to feel free in their expression and to use their voice and to stand in what's true. So I love that people are being drawn to you for that. I would love to go into a little bit of like the light language stuff as far as like, let's explain a little bit like what that is, how you got into it, how you use that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It came through with me during a Bufo ceremony. I had no idea what it was, so I had no reference point. And I remember it was a one-on-one ceremony. I did combo and then Bufo after. And I was sitting there, and this was before I don't think I'd ever published a book at this time. I think it was like when I was really thinking like, should I do healing or not? And I was laying down, and my hand was just like this, like it was writing, but I was laying and I was just going like ham, speaking what I thought was just sounded like a different language. And I was like, when you're in a ceremony, it's like you're kind of lucid and you're kind of not,
Yeah.
it's not happening. And so when I came out, I was like, what was I speaking? And he was like, you were speaking light language. And he also asked me, he goes, are you a writer? And I was like, I had written so many things quietly, but hadn't told anyone. And I was like, why? And he was like, because like your main calling on this earth is to heal people with your words, but through.
Mm,
And I remember that felt profound because at the time, like I wanted to either act or heal, like writing with the word wasn't as like concrete for me.
yeah.
And so I love that that came through. And he also was just saying to make sure whenever I write something to call my guides in so that they're imprinting the light language, even if it's not written or it's like a nonverbal transmission that's going through, which is why my second book that I released, it was all Reiki infused because I was like, I want someone
So good.
to like, why not get healed while you're reading?
Totally.
You know, two birds, one stone.
Yeah.
It's so interesting with light language because I wouldn't say it's like very dominant in what I do, but it is something that has coming through a little bit more since I've been in Nashville. It was something I never used in my healing, but
I
it would
would love
happen
to
like,
look at your chart and see what your astrocartography is for Nashville.
yeah, oh my God, that's so funny because I love astrocartography. And just yesterday, I was like, I feel like I need to look at my chart because like, I don't know about this whole Nashville thing.
Do you know what lines are there?
I'm pretty sure it's like home and family. I forget what that is.
Home and family. So,
And
I mean, Cancer, Moon, your moon there?
maybe moon. Yeah, I would have to have you look up because it's been a while.
I'll look it up
Um,
for you and
yeah,
send
yeah,
it
I would
over to
love
you.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I feel like also I'm doing in person again for the first time in years. So I think that's a big piece of it because I've been doing virtual for years and I love it. But after the concussion I had a few months ago, like I had a aversion to the screen for several months.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, in my guest room here was like, well, maybe I'll put up a table and just kind of see. Actually, that's not true. Three people asked for it, and I was like, I'm not doing it in person. And then finally, I'm a big person of three. So the third person that asked, I was like, Spirit, are we really going back to like in-person one-on-ones? Like, that was so not on my radar of anything I would do again.
Yeah. That's some like Uranian energy. Yeah, I love that though.
hmm And
That's
that's where
great.
the light language has come in. Like, it doesn't come through as much with the virtual. I think because I'm moving more, and like, I've got my instruments, and I'm doing sound, and I'm doing scent. So it's just like a different. I feel like they're just as powerful, but they're different. The Reiki, the healer that comes out of me in person is a bit more primal. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
I was just gonna say fierce. Yeah, no, I love that. And that just goes to speak to all of these things we're speaking to, just how powerful energy is. Like the environment that you're in, like you're in a different environment than before. The energy and the frequency of, wherever you're at with your individual healing, but also the collective energy as well, and how that influences all of that. And then all the modalities and the tools that you're using. And then the frequency of being on Zoom and the person that you're with versus the frequency of doing something in person with all of that. That all influences absolutely everything. So I
yeah.
think that all makes sense.
Totally. It's just it's like they're incomparable. Like every session's so different, every client's so different. And also everyone I've done in person here has been a new client. So it's just like a relationship. When you start exactly where you are with someone, you bring through the energy of right now. Where
Yeah.
some of my longer clients, like we already have a cadence, like there are different things that we do. Some just like to sleep while I do Reiki. Like I just basically charge them up once a week. And so I find it almost feels like this playground for me when I'm doing these in persons. Like I'm like, what am I gonna do next? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the novelty. That's the novelty too. Have you done like group Reiki, like group Reiki coherence or group clearings, like in person group stuff?
No, not well, not no, not in person. I've done like a few like way back when I started where someone would do like a sound bath and I'd like bring some Reiki in, but I wasn't the leader of it. Yeah, I've done group virtually because I have an online community, but I haven't done in person. And that's another thing. I feel like I just crack myself up with my spirituality. Like if I just listened, like I feel
Right.
like it was like trainings and I was like, no, 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 no. And then like everyone was like trainings and then finally
Or
I did
even
it.
like a group in person training. I feel
Yeah.
like some of these things are coming.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like the same with groups. Everyone's always asking me, like, do you ever do in-person events? Do you ever do retreats? I'm like, no. Just sitting here like, no.
No, but thanks for asking.
I'm like, no, but thank you. Like, we're like, is there like a
More than
list? And
fun.
I'm like, no.
So with the light language that I'm hearing that came through originally during ceremony, how have you expanded upon that or stayed connected to it, and how does that consistently come in for you? Is it always different? Do you feel like the way that it came in through ceremony, you've just expanded on that? Do you have different guides for it? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I feel like for so many years, it was just something that would come through in ceremony or like with close friends. It wasn't something that I felt like a lot of the time when I started my practice, I would kind of get like beginners in spirituality. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to like throw that in there, but I do feel like now I have such more openness for anyone, like wherever they are. And I work with people really far along. And so I'll usually ask, can I bring in language just to make sure it feels resonant with them?
Yeah.
But I feel like I have this like theory that if you speak like any second language, it kind of has that accent. Like I feel like mine has like a very like Italian flair because I used to
Yeah.
speak Italian.
It's like a
And so,
sexy light language.
yeah, like and I feel like my other friend like spoke Mandarin and like his light language like definitely felt more of like the Mandarin variety. And so it's just so interesting. I feel like also since the concussion, my channel is so much clearer
That's
because
so cool and so interesting and not something that I would have guessed. That's really cool.
yeah, I feel like gosh, for 6 months it was like an absolute nightmare. But I feel like when you unplug the computer, right, it reboots. So the
Yeah.
reboot was tough. Like having it unplugged was tough. Having the reboot was tough. But then I felt like there was so much more space for data. I also am just so much I'm so much more grateful because it's almost like when you get sick and then you're not sick, you're like, oh my God, I feel so good. How could I,
Totally.
know?
Totally. And I think with some gifts too, sometimes like things need to be turned off right before you're being upgraded. I've had that before too, where like certain gifts, like right before they're going to be upgraded, will turn off, or like I'll get sick and I'll lose my sense of smell. And for me, I'm like, okay, this is something great is about to come. I don't feel great right now and I can't smell anything, but something cool is going to come like next week.
I'm gonna smell real good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna smell some things.
And it's so beautiful because I feel like just as a human, we get so used to things. You get used to your connection with spirit or, these gifts. And I feel like everything being offline for 5 to 6 months, when they came back online, like the 3 months after, I felt like I was a newborn baby, just like music and sound and light. And I
Yeah.
will say now, just I didn't even realize till you asked in hindsight, it's really been since the concussion that the light language has come back, the concussion and the in person. And I feel like it's also the resonance of who I'm calling in now. Like I feel
Mm,
like the few in persons that I've had are just like at a different place
yeah.
where just they're like the openness is so there that I don't even know if I did ask. I feel like it just came through because I just felt such resonance that like their guides would be okay with
Yeah, their
it.
guide consented.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, yeah, it doesn't feel connected to me like with a specific guide. For me, it feels like my highest self when my highest self almost like I feel like at a relay race when you like tap someone in or like you pass the
Yeah,
baton.
pass the baton.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's like when my highest self is like, girl, like just give me the baton, like I got this.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. I don't need you like using
Yeah.
like your logic. Just give me the baton, and I feel like then I that's really when I get into the primal and I start like physically moving. I
Yeah.
speak a lot in my Reiki, which a lot of people don't,
Yeah.
and like there's a lot of yelling and speaking and humming and all these things, and so I feel like in that sense, a lot of people that find me are the people that prefer that way because usually Reiki is like silent the whole time. And
Totally.
so I feel like that also gives this space for the light language because there's already it's not all silent. So there's like a
Right.
space for that.
I love that. Yeah, I'll connect you. I'll send you her info on Instagram too if you're interested at all. She's like a crone, amazing woman that I've done Reiki with for probably close to like 15 years off and on. She's in Taos, but she is what I would describe as like fierce Reiki. Also does light language, and mixes in some like shamanism as well, and does like cacao and all like in person stuff.
Wow.
But it's interesting, right? Like you don't typically think of that flavor of a Reiki practitioner. Like you think like gentle, and not that it's not gentle, but you think
Yeah.
like gentle and quiet and calm, and it's like yes, and there are other ways to do it. And I know for me, I prefer what you're speaking to, and it lands in my system and it connects to different parts of me with like the primal frequencies at such an expanded awareness compared to the more like calm. Like I know for me when I first got into Reiki with receiving it, I think starting with that felt really good for my system to drop in just because it was so new and it built safety for me. And also now the other side of things feels a lot better for my system for sure.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. Like I remember when I used to do Reiki, I would just like do exactly what I was taught. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like literally dozens of times, like rinse and repeat, speak, just did it and did it. And then I remember a dear friend in Sedona being like, what would it feel like if you just said like move through me, Reiki, move me, show
Mm,
me where you want to go? Because she's
yeah.
like, I feel like you're limiting yourself a little bit by staying in this framework. And so I remember that was my first session where there was like I think I was like singing and like all sorts of
I love
craziness.
that. Do you feel like that's been a way for you to bring creativity into your spirituality? Yeah.
Totally. It's so like that's what I teach in my Reiki too, is I always say we all have a unique medicine. Yes, Reiki is a modality that has been passed down and it's an honor and it is sacred, but also we all have a different accent when we speak. Your Reiki is going to have a different accent than mine. So I always say like really stick with the training and like almost like not do it as long as me, but kind of rinse and repeat what I've taught you till it's in your bones, but then ask the Reiki like how is it supposed to come through me? Right?
Yeah.
Like so that's something I really try to empower people to
Mhm.
say, like, this is the way I did it, use it, but also feel free to really feel it in your body because your medicine's so different than mine. And
Yeah.
Reiki wants to use you in a different way. And so I feel like people also like that aspect of it because it gives them like a little bit more freedom to really feel into it.
I love that. Yeah, share it in a way that's true to you and make it yours too. Thank you so much. So we're gonna wrap up. It's been so great to connect with you. This was so fun for me.
Yeah, me too.
I would love for you to share, and we'll put stuff in the show notes too, where people can follow you, any current offerings you have, trainings coming up, anything like that that you'd love to share. I'd love to give you the space for that.
Yeah, everything is so easy. My name, it's like it's spelled tricky, but once you get my name, like it's so easy because it's like my website's talynfiore.com, my Instagram's Talyn Fiore, YouTube is Talyn Fiore. So it's really just my name across the board. And the book is what I'm kind of most passionate about right now. But I'm always doing offerings with the jewelry because I got certified in a whole science for the jewelry. So I work with people all over the world with the jewelry. I do the Reiki trainings, everything is digital, offering the in-persons in Nashville. I'm not really taking on a ton of virtual clients right now. I feel like I would if it was the right person, but really my heart feels so pulled to do the in-persons because of all the stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, that feels really true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And maybe some events, maybe we planted some seeds here.
Yeah, yeah. No, 1,000%. I feel that.
Well, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Lightstone's calling.
Yes, stay with the bell.
Awesome. Well, I'll connect with you. I'll share some astrocartography stuff. And yeah, thank you again.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.